Hello.
Hello.
Welcome.
Welcome back.
Our side episode, our One Piece side episode, the Blue Saga Part 2 of the NgoVo Convo podcast, where two stupids make a right.
That's hype, right? Right.
Yes. Hype and right. Because I'm one of your hosts, Baratie Arc, and I'm joined by Harrison. No, he's right over there.
I'm over here.
I was going to point backwards, like you were back.
Yeah, you were about to.
I know. I was like, oh.
I had to double check.
I was like, oh, God. But if you're new here, we both just want an excuse to talk about anything that ranges from animated comics, clear out our backlog, because this is Harrison's backlog.
This is my backlog.
This is one of his manga backlogs. Because some would say it's conversing.
Oh, like NgoVo Convo?
No.
And NgoVo Convo? Spelled right above my head?
You beat me to it this time. I
did.
can't believe it.
I can't.
You can spell. It's great.
Mm-hmm.
But you can watch every episode on YouTube.com or listen to it as a podcast by searching NgoVo Convo on your podcast service of choice. We're on 10 different platforms, literally everywhere. Find us on Spotify, Google, Apple iTunes, Amazon. I just named the ones that are very, very popular.
Easy.
And in this episode, we are going to continue our journey in One Piece. We're going to finish up Blue Saga. This is part 2. Gonna wrap it up with, what is it, 3 arcs? Yeah, 3 arcs. 3 long arcs, or 2 long arcs, 1 really short one.
I didn't really get to ask this real quick, but... Oh, actually, no, keep going. My bad.
Oh, okay. So, we know One Piece is a big commitment. You obviously do not have to watch the side series. We'd love you if you would, but no need to. Or if you want to commit with us and read it
Along.
Would
we be putting the chapter breakdowns in the description?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we would.
Do that.
Yeah. But also, we're sponsored by Anchor, which we'll get into later. And Harrison, what was your question?
My question is, is there a reason why it's just called Blue Saga? Like, I get it's probably like the ocean or like something to start off. But...
Yeah, so they're like, in the map, they're like in the East Blue area.
Which I've learned after reading this stuff, the quadrants. I understand it a bit better now.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so that's all kind of like where Luffy started his journey, like in the East Blue area.
Okay,
yeah.
That makes more sense.
Yeah.
I just want to make sure I wasn't like assuming, but I was like, I'm just gonna assume. I don't know anything, so.
Yeah. Like that's a good question because each Saga. Wow, talking's hard. Saga is like in a big portion of the map, and we'll travel along with Luffy. Don't you worry.
Yeah.
But Harrison, to continue this journey, a very long journey, we're going to be talking about 3 different arcs. There were both, actually, one of them was pretty longer.
2 big ones.
Yeah, 2 big ones and one little,
one intermediate.
One really little one.
Yeah.
Yeah. So any thoughts? Who did you want to see? Oh, actually, no. You do know who you're going to see, but were you excited to see them?
So, we didn't really touch on the last Blue Saga Part 1, but they left off with how we didn't really touch on this, but how they're looking for certain crew members. I forgot to mention
Luffy is looking. Yes.
I mentioned Luffy is, and I mentioned how we said that each person fits a role, and I didn't really touch on that's because Luffy's looking for certain roles, and I did want to touch on how he's like, Zoro's the first mate essentially, Nami's gonna be the navigator. They didn't really say anything about Usopp. But we kept saying, he's like the sharpshooter. You said sniper.
Sniper.
I know he's like really good with shots and stuff. So yeah, sure. But then they chopped off with, we need a musician. Just kidding. No, a cook.
Because Luffy eats a lot.
Yeah, so I knew that this is going to be Sanji because I was like, okay, cool. We're finally touching Sanji. I think this was out of the intro for characters, I liked Sanji's introduction the most, if I remember.
Is it the backstory, or do you like it because he's Sanji?
Partial backstory. I thought it was interesting. No, I mean like the whole ordeal would hit, because I'd say this is his arc.
Yes. Yeah, it is.
Sanji's the biggest simp ever. Yes. But
well, yeah. He's a womanizer.
No, he's more of a simp. What are you talking about?
He's a womanizer too. He can be.
To an extent.
Yeah, to an extent.
Right now, he's just a huge simp in my eyes. But so I was excited for this part, and my wife says he's her favorite Straw Hat crew member. She had to specify Straw Hat crew member. I was like, oh.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
I was like, oh, okay. Okay, cool.
I can see why.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay, interesting. Well, anything else? Were you interested in anyone else? Did you think they were going to find a musician before you read this?
No. I don't even know who that is, honestly.
Oh, you don't? You haven't been spoiled for that?
No, I don't know. Okay. I've seen crew members. I don't know what they do.
Like what each person is. Okay.
Yeah. I know. Okay, I will say now. I know up to Chopper.
Oh, everyone knows Chopper.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So I think Chopper's way past. Actually, I don't know. Never mind. I have no idea. I'm gonna stop.
I won't spoil.
Yes, I don't even know if I'm right. So I'm just gonna leave it at that. That is the most recent. That is the recent, or the
last
crew I knew of.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Interesting. I'm gonna say, no. Zoro is your favorite crew member, right?
Zoro is my favorite. Yeah.
Okay. He's my favorite too.
Oh.
Well, him and Chopper are kind of tied. So.
I see. Because I know Sarah's is Sanji's, and I know, like, her sister likes...
Is Law. She likes
Law. Yes.
Yes.
See, I know names, but that's it.
But you don't know, like, face or...
I kind of know face. So I don't know what they do.
Yeah. Okay. So you are a little lost. Kind of in the...
No, yeah. Like, for me, this is honestly, like, a... kind of like a refresher, but also like
a surprise.
Yeah. But I'm also new to this. Yeah,
you are. It's kind of intimidating, isn't it?
When I see 1,000 chapters and I'm only
literally about to hit.
What is this called? I don't know how to say this. Baratie.
I think it's Baratie. No, Baratie.
Baratie. Okay.
Yeah, Baratie.
Because this is essentially Sanji's introduction arc, and I think I thought this one was really cool in that essentially it's just how there's the whole ship that's all about being a restaurant.
Yeah.
I thought that was just
and it's in the middle of the ocean.
It's the middle of the ocean. Yeah.
Exactly. But Sanji, I think the way they introduced him was very hilarious.
Mm-hmm. Super hot-headed.
Yeah, super hot-headed. He is a simp, like we've said earlier, and he does enjoy the ladies a little too much. I just found it interesting. I feel like each crew member brings something to the table, obviously, because they're a crew member.
Yeah.
But I think their backstory, especially Sanji's, is like really sad. Once you continue reading,
all their stories have been sad, honestly. Like, we didn't really touch on this, but like Zoro's with how like the girl that died, but that's why he wants to be the best swordsman because of that. Usopp's is pretty sad, and that like, of course his dad left to be a pirate, but the way his mom passed, the reason why he lies is because he kept trying to lie to her and be like, "Oh no, dad's coming home."
Yeah.
So it's like,
but I think Sanji's is really sad.
Sanji's is pretty sad.
Yeah, so this arc, is it the Baratie? I think it's Baratie.
I don't know, you tell me.
I think it's Baratie. I feel like it's Baratie. I'm gonna have to look that up later and be like, fact check myself. Chapter 42 to 68. It's all about Sanji. It's all about Luffy's stomach. You get to meet a pirate that has a bounty on him.
No, Buggy already had a bounty. But this is Don Krieg, and they escalate it again.
Yeah. But Don
He's a
Krieg
higher
has
bounty.
A higher bounty. And you get to meet one of Zoro's, I guess, rivals as well. Hawkeye.
Yeah, Mihawk? Hawkeye? I don't remember.
I call him Hawkeye, but it's Mihawk.
Okay.
Yeah. How do you feel about Sanji, like, just giving food away? Let's start with that.
So,
to the pirate that kind of just ended up in their ship because he was
Yeah, because it's the whole like there's this is also like a very good point to also add where the military, the Marines, are very they Oda depicts them as a very like gray area, black and white at sometimes. Like they're supposed to be good, but they are assholes.
Yeah.
Like they got that.
They're about justice, but also not really.
Yeah, because like Luffy got not caught, but like they were going to the same spot because they're trying to find the cook. And it was just interesting to see like, oh, the Marines are supposed to be good, but they're bad because there's like even in the first arc, Zoro was caught by the Marine guy. I forgot his name all of a sudden. We didn't really touch on that either, but
oops.
I mean, for me, it was
just
passable.
A lot to touch on.
It was a lot, and it was just kind of passable because to me, it was like, oh, cool, yeah, it's a Marine guy that's bad because he's bad, but he's good. It's just like this. He's just addressing like, okay, this is like the world we're in, so it's kind of okay.
Well,
cool.
he's also Oda is just like depicting that like, basically, it's like a dirty cop.
Yeah, a dirty.
Like
essentially, there are dirty cops in the sea. Like these guys are dirty cops, yes. Yeah. And it's still like the guy that they show in here is not really the big bad, but he's like oh yeah, he's kind of like an asshole cop in a sense, like asshole Marine. Because he's there to like take this girl that he's seeing and all that
on a date.
But then he treats Sanji like shit. Anyway, but like Sanji beats him up, which I'm an introduction. But the guy they had on there was a pirate, but then Sanji still fed him no matter what, which I think says a lot about his character. Which then you learn from his backstory that he doesn't want anyone to starve because he went through that.
He went through it, yeah.
So he's like, no matter what, no one deserves to go through that.
Yeah, with Zeph. And Zeph's like the head chef, basically, of the ship. Yeah. I think that really shapes Sanji a lot, especially, as a kid.
But this is like...
He's a mysterious kid, isn't he? Because you just... In the panels that you see him as a kid, like 8 years ago, you just see him on the ship.
Yeah. Oh.
But are you ever curious about Sanji?
No, not really. Not right now.
Okay, interesting.
But now you're making me think.
I'm just baiting you at this point, just to see where your head is at.
Yeah, right now I'm not questioning. I just assume everyone likes to be on the ocean. Let's be real, or something like that.
I mean, the ocean's a big place. It's a big place.
No shit, really.
No shit.
Man, you're making me question.
Do you
a
think?
Lot of things.
I felt like whenever I reread this arc, I felt like Sanji could not stand Zoro and Luffy.
To an extent, yes.
To an extent, but I feel like you could feel that Sanji really hates Zoro.
Not really.
It's just the way.
I guess I'm not getting that.
I think it's just really.
No.
Because when they were sitting together with Usopp, and he was just pouring, like Sanji was just pouring like food and drinks to like Nami, and then Sanji was like, "Okay, you two," like to Usopp and like Zoro. He's like, "Okay, you two."
I thought that was just him being like, "Oh, I like women."
Him being a simp.
I respect. Yeah, I didn't think anything of it. It wasn't even directed. It was just like, if anything, it felt like he directed it more to Usopp because Usopp was like, "How dare you do this?" So
I think it's just like you just see the dynamic more of the crew and like future crew members, and I just find it so funny. They're always bickering.
What if you're spoiling something? Because now I'm like,
oh, I'm not.
Oh, okay.
I'm not.
Okay.
Absolutely not. Don't you worry.
What did get me going? What did get me like confused at my time frames and stuff? I didn't realize Zoro got to fight Mihawk this early. I forgot.
Oh, really?
I forgot. I was just like, oh, this is when it happens.
That was a big point.
Yeah,
for Zoro.
But that's why I was like, it's such a big point. And I was like, this is already happening in like this early on, like chapters like 40, like this arc. So
I know. It was very early on. And I think that kind of shows like the backstory, like we said earlier, backstory of Zoro and how he wants to be like the greatest swordsman, right? But he can't beat Mihawk is like literally the greatest swordsman.
Yeah. But they do. This is where I understand why people say One Piece is good at world building, because they essentially just establish Mihawk, and they say this in another arc later where he's like the 7 warlords, like one of the 7 warlords.
One of 7 warlords.
But he is the best swordsman, and he is from he just lit the what was it? Don Krieg's crew got screwed because they woke him up from a nap. They are setting up that this is how big of a skill gap there is, right? Yeah. And he literally beat Zoro.
Luffy and Zoro at the bottom.
At the bottom. But then he beat Zoro with like a little knife. He's like, "Oh, I don't hunt rabbits with like a cannon. What are you talking about?" I was like,
"Yeah."
Oh. Okay.
Oh yeah. I think that really, and also that fight defines Zoro for the rest of his time.
Yeah, because he doesn't want to ever lose again.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. I can't believe you forgot about that. And I know you.
No, I remember it happened. I just didn't know it happened that early.
That early, okay.
Yeah, I thought it was like a later after Arlong Park, but no.
Oh, okay.
That's what I thought it was like later, but like before Alabasta. I was like, oh no, it was this early. But then again, reading the manga, the pacing's also different. Like everything feels faster.
Yeah, it does.
Versus watching, so.
Okay. Oh yeah, so speaking about like world building, and obviously we're talking about like Mihawk, Hawkeye, he's up there, right? Mm-hmm. And then there's Don Krieg, and then there's like the government, they're kind of like on the side. And then I said how I was like, okay, Luffy and Zoro and his crew, Straw Hat Crews, are at the bottom. Mm-hmm. How much work do you think they have to get up to where they need to be, like Mihawk level?
In terms of this, in terms of
like, yeah.
I don't know, maybe 1,000 chapters.
Stop. Well, just spoil it. No, I'm just kidding. Hey, because they're literally starting from scratch.
No, yeah, no. This is
zilch.
So this is like the ride, right? So this is why I think it's really cool, because they are doing this thing where they are slowly just introducing these bad guys that Luffy and the gang have to fight, and they are hard. They are difficult. Like for instance, Don Krieg is insane.
Oh, he's crazy. Yeah.
But it also shows like what each bad guy values, and the crew goes against those values, or Luffy specifically goes against those values. Yeah, like Don Krieg is all about weaponry. Like Buggy was all about money. The first Marine guy was all about power and control.
Yeah.
I can't remember his name, and he has like the axe hand too. I was like, oh shit.
Yeah, I forget. We'll put it back in.
Yeah, but and then and we'll jump really quick. Arlong is like humans are trash.
Yeah, they're a little racist.
But they're alluding to like they came from the Grand Line, so these guys are the reason they're strong is because they're from that area. But they're not. But this guy was under the Mihawk. One of no. Arlong was under. Was it Mihawk?
Oh wait, Arlong. Oh, he was under someone else. Yeah.
Yeah, one of the other generals, because he's a fish person. I forgot what they call it all of a sudden. I thought fishman. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
But again, world building, like they're what Luffy and the gang are fighting against going up, but like you said, how long does it take for them to get up to like the seven warlord level? So
or like at least get his name out there.
Well, he did though. Like after
literally, which we'll get into in a little bit.
Yeah, we're jumping ahead too much.
Yeah, we're jumping.
Sorry,
ahead.
I'm letting you. Okay. Let you be captain again.
The captain of the series. I'm just kidding. So Don versus Luffy. The fight was really interesting because Luffy was like, "Oh yeah, I'm rubber, yada yada." Basically the fruit. You can't swim.
Yeah.
They just drown basically because
they keep going. Power. They keep going back to that. Oh, this is your weakness.
So Zeph, the top chef, him and Sanji were on the side, kind of like defending the ship and everything. Mm-hmm. And there's a couple panels where Zeph is like, "Sanji, watch Luffy fight and watch his grit be better than what Don wants."
Yeah.
Like, because grit will get you really far, especially in like the Grand Line and everything. And Sanji's like, "What are you talking about? What's grit? Like, what's going on?"
They were definitely like alluding to something.
Yeah. And I think the grit in Luffy is that he's this like really simple but stupid character, right? You think he is stupid.
He's very simple. Stupid. Yeah, he's very
simple-minded. But I think the more layers you break into Luffy as you're reading it, the more you'll see that he what he wants to do, he'll get, basically. Because, he wants a crew.
Yeah, and he's getting each person, no problem.
Each person, yeah.
Because after he beats Dawn, in like, honestly, like reading that, I was like, this string of stuff that happens is like crazy. Because it's true. He doesn't stop. He doesn't like. He just keeps let up. He doesn't give. That's what they kept saying. He doesn't give.
Yeah.
He doesn't let
give
go.
Up, and he doesn't. No. Yeah. I think after that fight, I think Sanji could tell that like Luffy's dream, he's not gonna let it go.
Yeah,
like, he wants to be king of pirates.
It shows that like Sanji was like, why don't you just give up? They keep saying that for everyone else.
Yeah,
like Zoro fighting Mihawk, he's like, just give up, and all this stuff, and it finally like Zeus is like, don't, or like essentially this is why he's like, this is why they can't give up. This is why they're good. And
I think Zeph can relate because he was a pirate.
Mm-hmm.
And
he was like, what was it? Red shoes? Red boot? I forgot. Red shoes, Zeph? Or
red boot.
Yeah.
Red boot.
Red boot. Something about the whole like blood on his feet because that's how Sanji knows how to fight.
Yeah. So I think grit and like giving up, I think that really gives you a layer of how Luffy is, and that really connects to the next arc that we'll talk about in a little bit. But before we take a break, good old Nami, our navigator, has left the sea, left everyone boatless. Did you see that happen? Like Nami just betray Luffy?
Yeah. Wait, how much
did
money
you see it because she took all that money? Or was it because she was suspicious since the beginning?
She always like jokes about like, oh, let me take the money and go. Or let me go save that money. She always had to go save the money.
Yeah.
So.
But why? Dun dun dun. We'll get to that after we take a quick break to talk about our sponsors. On today's episode, we are sponsored by Anchor. It is a free podcast hosting service that we actually use. We've been using Anchor since we've started the podcast. It's because there are creation tools that allow us to record and edit the podcast right from our phones and computers. A huge plus for us is that Anchor would distribute our podcast to all platforms such as Spotify, Apple iTunes, Google Podcasts, and many more. It really is everything that you need to make a podcast all in one spot. Please download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm, anchor.fm to get started. Oh my gosh, and we're back. That was quick, easy. And we're going to get into Arlong Arc. Ooh, that was a lot to say.
Can we also take a quick break to say it's a slingshot?
I can't with you. I hate you.
Usopp's thing is a slingshot, by the way.
I know. You said that and I was like, I hate you. Anyway. But yeah, we're gonna pass by that bit that Harrison just did. We're talking about Arlong Park.
Yes.
It's gonna be chapter 69 to 95. And this is like the intro to Fishman Crew, which is a bunch of like fish, like a different species.
Yeah.
Basically Nami's past, which we'll get into in a little bit. And basically this arc defines Luffy because he gets his first bounty
after
number.
This.
First bounty after this arc. So how did you feel about these fishmen and how racist they were?
I didn't really care much about that. I just kind of assumed that that's their shtick. It was just more like, okay, like watching it now, I was like, oh, okay, this is giving a glimpse of what could happen on the Grand Line.
Yeah.
Like this is like, because they keep talking. It's like, oh, this is like the power of the Grand Line. This is like, it was it takes, blah blah blah, all this stuff. And it's like, okay, now this is actually people from the Grand Line, because they alluded that Zeph was from the Grand Line, and how Kree couldn't handle the Grand Line. Like it's right now, this is what it is, right? So now we're dealing with people that came from the Grand Line.
And they're from the, And the Freshman Crew, they're one of the 7 warlords, Jinbei. They were under Jinbei for a little bit, Yeah.
But they broke off and now they're here. On the blue.
Yeah. When I initially watched this, I was like, how do fish people like breathe? I was watching, I was like, how do they like breathe not in the water.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, because they're also man.
Yeah, because they're fish man. Like
they're fish man. Yeah. I was overthinking it when I was initially watching it. And I was like, how are they like this?
Yeah, because they addressed it because that's how, what was it? Sanji fought one of the dudes underwater and he just clicked.
Yeah.
It
clicked, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, Nami's passed. Another
it's
sad
really
one. It's
also
really depressing. And I think we keep saying like they each define like their crew. But I feel like when someone dies in front of you and then you want to pay off your city and your dues, it just makes you do crazy stuff.
They are all somewhat paying off something. They all have like something happened to them, and then that defines their goal.
Yeah.
Or they have a goal already. They have a goal already, right?
Yeah.
But then that just solidifies it.
Yeah. And how Nami became the navigator, and I hopefully you remember this panel, but it's the panel where Luffy puts his straw hat on her, and I think that was when Nami was like, oh man, he's serious about,
because like, she remembers
wanting to be king of the pirates.
Yes. Well, she mocked his hat. She's like, what is there like money under his hat? He's like, no, this is my treasure. Yeah, and the moment he puts the hat on her, it's like, that's symbolizing in my head at the time when I read this. You mean like you're important too. So yeah, as a crew member. Yeah. And
I think do you think Nami needed that?
Oh, 100%. Because 100%. Based on her past, like she lost they're orphans. And she couldn't trust anyone. And she couldn't trust anyone. Especially when Arlong took her in because they realized she was a good cartographer.
Oh, yes.
So she can't trust any. She hasn't been able to trust ever since.
Oh, in like 8-9 years, I think.
8 years, yeah.
I think 8 years, yeah. Yeah, I thought that moment was really sweet. I was like, oh, Luffy.
Yeah, I mean, they alluded to it too because even her sister was like, oh, friend. The word friend is already like
iffy.
That
F word is iffy.
Yeah. But it was interesting to see like, oh, this is why she had to why she portrays why she cares about money so much, because she wants to pay off the 100 million bear. Okay, it's called berries, or is it called
berries?
Okay.
Yeah, berries.
Okay, just want to make sure. Well, no, because so at the beginning I noticed this too. They kept saying, this is a mistranslation, I think. They kept calling Zoro Zolo. And I remember this.
I think it's a mistranslation, yeah.
But this is so long ago. I remember I was like, oh, that's weird. They finally like figured out, oh no, it's not Zolo. Zoro.
It's Zoro, yeah.
So I just want to make sure. But
and oh wait, what were you gonna say?
No, yeah.
Go ahead.
No, I said that's it.
Oh, okay. I thought
the berry thing.
Else. The fights, I think in Arlong, to me, these fights were really pivoting towards like the whole crew's
strengths. Yeah.
Yes. Strengths and weaknesses.
Yes.
And how far they'll go to protect Luffy, I think.
Yep. Like Zoro versus the Octopus Man was insane because Hachi, yes. Well, one, it was funny because Hachi got tricked, but Zoro was like also an idiot, but smart enough to be like, "Yes, I'm a guest."
And he just lounges like a
But like it shows like he will fight until he's about to die. I mean, same with Mihawk, but he didn't. Same idea. And Sanji will just keep going and all that just to defend. But they do, and then they show like they start improving characters in a sense that like Usopp would always run away, but finally he just defeats one dude. The one that's sucked up water. Mouth one. Yeah, the kissy mouth one. Yes.
Yeah.
They don't say his name often. That's why I don't remember. But I remember Hachi and I remember. Well, I remember Octopus Man. And then I forgot. Yeah. Anyway, I don't remember.
Yeah,
names.
I think
it's a lot.
So the fight that I liked the most was Usopp because he was like,
"Oh no,
because he was like, I'm gonna just lie here on ketchup and pretend I'm dead.
But then he starts thinking about the others' goals.
Yeah.
That's right.
Everyone else's goals. He's like, oh God, I'm being shameful right now. He was like, oh God, everyone's just doing stuff.
Everyone's actually doing well, and then I'm here just trying to hide.
I think that's why that's in this arc. It was one of my favorite. It was basically like pivoting Usopp to be a little braver on the seas, a little braver with the crew. But also Luffy like breaking the building because it was Nami's basic prison.
Oh, him just breaking her room. That's like, at first I was like, oh no, she probably feels really bad about all this stuff. But then the more they talked more about it, I was like, then finally she just said thank you. I'm like, duh, because that was her prison. You're right. Like she had to do things she didn't like, as in like just she didn't want to
make maps and
make maps for them, and it's like she tried to lie about it and all this stuff. The whole ordeal with how Tom's the hostage for her, like that's honest. And then it got really more wholesome in that like they knew she was trying to like bring in money for them. But they had to act like they hated her,
which was so weird.
That was kind of weird.
Wasn't that weird?
Okay, like when he explained it, I'm like, okay, it makes sense that like you didn't want them to like just rush to it, but they didn't have to like, I don't know, like
pretend.
Or I guess no. The way he said it was, they didn't want her to feel even more entitled, or like not entitled, but like didn't shoulder all that more responsible for trying to earn the money. Oh, but the twist of like how Arlong was like, oh yeah, I'm not gonna break my promise. It's true, but he was gonna have those Marines under his belt take that money, so then she would be stuck at 0 again. I was like,
and she'll have to redo everything. That was pain.
Going back to like Luffy destroying the room, but then also destroying the building. Like drop kick the building. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
That was insane. The whole fight, all the fights were really good. I honestly went back on a lot of panels just to see like how it was drawn. I don't usually do that for like big panels, but I do for the big, the panel moments. But this one had a lot of those where I would go back and I'm like, whoa, this is cool.
Whoa. And have you noticed that in the fights in One Piece, there's always, when it's with Luffy, there's always one moment where Luffy's just being a little goofball. Like I think Arlong's
grabbing the teeth.
Yeah, the teeth fell out. Like one set fell out, right? And then he grew it back because he's basically a shark. And so Luffy's like, "What's this?" And he puts it in his mouth. He's like,
"I'm just like you." He's like, "You're making fun of me."
Luffy, you cannot be like this.
But then he goes like berserk mode because like he's like, "Oh, Arlong, like the blood on the pen or something." Mm-hmm. Like he notices it. And he's like, "Oh, how dare you say use her?" So it shows like Luffy cares about his crew more than anyone else, and that's what he cares. Like he puts them above everything, right? And that's what he cherishes. Which I think it's like slowly building up his character in that sense. Yeah. But that's right now it feels very formulaic, in that every villain, his ideals goes against theirs, because theirs are very obviously cut and dry, black and white bad. Because he like.
I mean, he has a simple mind, right? Mm-hmm. And obviously, we're getting this far, about 95 chapters. The government,
hasn't done anything, though. They haven't done anything so far.
Are they still a mystery to you? Because remember, Kobe's like, I want to join the Marines.
Yeah.
I want to be.
You just think like they're the army right now. Yeah, at the time, you just think they're the army. But at the end of this arc, when they're determining, because Luffy defeats Arlong, duh, and the city gets liberated, duh. But this is when I was like, oh, that's just how early his bounty was. Because Luffy just defeated 3 crazy guys, like Buggy, Don Krieg, and then and Arlong, which all had crazy bounties, right? So now he has his own bounty. Yeah. And it was how much again? It was like what?
Okay, so before we get to the number, so Buggy's at the beginning was 15 million. 15. And then Don Krieg was 30 million or 17 million.
Yeah.
And then now Luffy, good old Luffy, our boy, has a 30 million bounty on his
How much is Arlong's? Do you remember?
I don't remember Arlong's.
I don't know if they
I think
said
it was 25. It might
Yeah.
have been 25, but I don't remember.
I know that Luffy ended up higher than all three of them.
Oh, yeah.
And that's why they're like, whoa, we just gave someone 30 million at the start.
Yeah. And it was funny because Usopp's the back of his head's on there. He's like, look, I'm part of this 30 billion.
Oh.
Huh, look at that. I'm part of it.
But then Nami finally joins.
Yes.
Officially.
She's an official navigator. But right before she becomes a navigator, she had to steal everyone's wallets in the town.
Okay, they do this thing. Kind of like Usopp has his goodbye from everyone.
In the town,
Sanji's was pretty heartfelt in that like everyone was quiet. And then finally he just like pours his heart out to everyone, and then everyone's like, oh, you should be quiet, or everyone needs to be silent, but everyone's like bawling.
Yeah.
As he leaves. And then this one was like, oh, we want to give you a proper goodbye, but she's just running and like she steals everyone's money. I was
running there.
So everyone has like their specific send off, which I think is good too. Yeah.
It is good. Okay, well, let's get to the final arc. It's really short, 4 chapters.
It's just introducing, right? Kind of.
Yeah. So so every saga, before I get into it, there's like big points, long arcs within, and then at the very end there's always one mini arc, and that is important to the next saga.
It leads into the next saga. Yes.
Into the next saga, basically. So this is called Loguetown Arc. It's chapters 96 through 100.
Yes.
We get to meet one of my favorite Marines.
Smoker.
Just because he's a hunk. We love a hunky white-haired man in this podcast. No, we do.
We do.
We do. And there's a lot of different devil fruits
that get introduced.
You kind of get to see Goldie Roger Town, because that's where he's from.
That's where,
where he's executed, basically.
Is it Loguetown or Roguetown?
Loguetown. I call it Loguetown.
That was Roguetown.
Roguetown? I don't know. Well, R and L are not that close, but
you know what? Yes. Zoro was Zolo, so who knows? Maybe it's flipped here too. Oh,
who knows? I don't know.
Oh, that's my wife later. No.
I did copy paste this from somewhere, so
that's true.
It could be. Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah.
But
but
this is where where Goldie Roger was hung. Yes.
Well, you didn't have to say it like that, but yes.
That's how they said it.
No, I know. I'm just saying. We are a PG podcast. I'm just kidding.
Just big facts.
No, the parallel between Goldie Roger and Luffy was honestly a little scary.
Yeah, because Smoker mentioned it. He's like, how has someone like smiled when they're about to die?
When they're about to die.
Because he was questioning, because he was like, well, before that.
Yes.
Because Luffy got caught by, is this why you asked me who I want to get reintroduced to? Because Buggy came back.
Yes.
Lady Alvida came back, and yeah, they just caught Luffy, and they like are about to kill him.
Lady Alvida's a little skinnier, and Luffy was a little oblivious.
This is when I asked you on the last one, where I was like, the title or the chapter covers are important to an extent, right? Because they tell a story.
They are important, yeah.
I did not know that was her the entire time.
Really?
No.
They explain. Now it's explained.
It explained that she ate a fruit.
Yes.
Or the slip. Yeah.
The slip or slip.
Yeah, slip.
Yeah, slip because she slips around.
Yeah.
I
didn't know that was her in those, because they were showing Buggy's adventure, and then Hugh ran into her, and I was like, oh, that's just the pirate lady.
Like a random pirate lady. No.
Yeah, I didn't know it was her. So that's when I saw this. Like, I remember this happening, but I forgot. But that's where I don't think they show it in the anime, and I might be wrong on this, because that's just what I was talking about, where the chapter covers are cool and that they give you a side story.
Yeah.
And
I don't think they show it in the anime.
But they
just go straight into this.
They explain what happens, but they just went into it. But yeah, it was cool. So I was like, oh, that's why you asked.
That is why I asked, because Buggy does come back and captures poor old Luffy.
But then, like, I think Sanji and Zoro save him. But this is when, like, Smoker was like, that's going back to our thing of, like, how Goldie Roger and Luffy are kind of similar, because Smoker was like, the last time someone smiled when they're about to die was 20 years ago.
Yeah, exactly. How'd you feel about Zoro? Well, first off, Zoro had to
get new
borrow
swords.
money from Nami.
With 600% interest.
Yes. And then he had to go buy new swords.
Yeah.
And
this was the coolest moment in the shop, and this solidified why I thought Zoro was badass back then.
Yep. How'd you feel about his little sword shop?
It was funny because
he does get 2 new swords.
He does, and I don't remember. Does he not? And I would assume this is the case. He doesn't know that his sword's actually like one of the 21 or something, right? Or something. You know, like how they're like the girl that got introduced. She's like, oh, there are like 2 like legendary swords that like Tashigi. Yeah. She essentially said, oh, I want to make sure none of the swords are in the evil people's hands. So she just didn't. She's like, oh, this guy's not bad yet that I know of. Classic trope. But then he picks up a cursed sword, which I was like, oh, that's cool. And he's like, let's determine if it will take me.
Cursed,
and he holds out his hand.
Yeah.
And the sword literally goes around it's spinning and it goes around his hand. I was like, that is badass. That is why Zoro's so cool. And then the other guy,
even the sword shop guy was like, don't take it.
Because he was trying to swindle him in getting the other sword.
Yeah.
But then
his current one.
But then he's like, don't take that. But then finally when he proved it, he's like, all right, here's my other best sword. So he just got 2 cool new swords. I was like, dang.
Yes, he does. And now he's back to being 3-sword man.
Pretty much.
Pretty
cool.
much.
It's so cool. I thought that was...
It is cool.
That was one of the dopest parts of that. And then seeing Smoker's power happen, which was interesting. I guess we'll see more of that.
Him being like kind of like Smokey, obviously.
Oh.
A little Smokey there.
It was funny because he seems like an absolute dick. But then once, like, this is a little thing that I noticed, like, the girl runs into him and drops his ice cream. And he's like, I'm sorry, my pants ate your ice cream. Here, next time, get 5. And I'm like, see, this is where the gray area begins. Where
yes, because you don't know if you should like them or not. But then they act like this.
Because you know the Marines are supposed to be, like, the antagonist. But then there's moments like this.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Oh, yeah, so back to Chopper. Chopper's literally... Or not Chopper. What's his name? Buggy. I was like, Chopper.
Yeah, I was confused. I was like, wait, back to Buggy. Something?
He was literally about 2 seconds away from chopping off Luffy's head. And then he was saved. Obviously, our protagonist cannot die this early.
There was a big focus on Zoro and Sanji.
Zoro and Sanji. They basically like chop, kicked. They had to get back to the boat because there's some weather issue.
Yeah, they alluded to like
weather. Because
Nami predicted it. Or forecasted it, essentially.
Yeah. And then Smoker chased them down like the town. My next question, I have to phrase this very carefully. But the man that stopped Smoker.
Yeah.
Your thoughts on him?
This is when I started wanting to read more, but I had to stop because we're starting this book. Starting to record.
His name's Dragon. Dragon stops Smoker. Yes. Yeah. Their interaction is interesting, isn't it?
Yes.
Smoker and Dragon.
Very confused. Okay. But I'm very interested. So.
Confused but interested. Because Smoker's like, why are you stopping?
Yeah.
Why are you stopping me? Like, what's going on?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm just trying to gauge how much you know, how much you've been spoiled, but it looks like you have not.
I don't know what's going on right now.
Okay, perfect.
But because he's like, why are you helping that guy Dragon? And he's like, what reason would I have to get in the way of another man's voyage? I'm like, so he's trying to help Luffy keep going.
Yeah. Be king of the pirates.
Yeah. If that, yeah, it's so, yeah. I was like, okay, I need to know who this guy is. Yeah. So it's pretty sus.
It's pretty sus.
But then everyone gets off and they just, well, I mean, what's her name? It's like, I'm going to capture him because he's bad.
Oh, Tashigi.
Yeah.
Tashigi, yeah.
Yeah, who honestly looks like the girl that died.
Oh, yeah.
Zoro's past. I forgot to add that. That's where it was kind of weird.
Yeah.
Yeah, but.
Okay. Well, Blue Saga.
But they're all going to Grand Line now.
Yeah. And that's a whole nother saga that we'll get into next time. But Harrison, you have finished 10% of One Piece.
So fast, honestly, really fast.
Slowly getting there, I know.
Reading so good.
Reading so good. Okay, so you don't know too much. I think going into this next saga, it's basically Alabasta.
It's basically Alabasta, but I don't remember much of the arcs.
Okay.
I remember the end every time.
Every time, because that's where you end and rewatch every time.
Yes,
to get into it.
Yes.
Okay. What are you most excited for?
Just to see how Alabasta works, because now I don't know if I remember anything correctly.
Correctly or in the right order,
in the right order, because I remember the next part is the blue hair girl, which is I don't know. Never mind. Okay. See, I don't remember. She's like you know what? I'm not going to say anything because this is also for viewers in case they don't know what's going on. But I'm just, the next part is just understanding how that part works now, because I don't remember how Alabasta happens in a sense.
Yeah.
I just know there's sand.
There is sand. And Luffy keeps saying that he wants a musician.
Is he actually getting a musician next? I thought it was going to be like...
Do you think he'll get a musician
No, he keeps saying musician, but it's not next. It's not going to happen.
Well, we'll see.
We'll see.
Is there anything else that you're interested in? Anything else in this world building?
I just want to see like how the rise happens, honestly, because I know that there's so much that happens and they get to a different point.
Yeah.
So I just kind of want to get to the famous halfway point, I guess, for One Piece.
Yeah.
Can I say what it is?
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead and say it.
There's a time skip. I just want to get to the time skip part.
Oh, you want to get to the good stuff. That's what you want to get to. The good stuff. The juicy stuff.
Spicy.
The spicy stuff. Well, if you don't have anything else, I am happy that we got you through the first 100 chapters. That is all I'm happy about. But thanks for tuning in. You can follow us on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, Twitter, and Patreon at NgoVo Convo. If you're on YouTube, don't forget to hit that like button and notification bell to get updates for when we upload. Wow. And subscribe. It's a big red button. Words were hard.
What's a hard?
Buttons below me. Let us know how we're doing. What do you want to see next? What do you want us to watch, read, play?
I mean, I know what I know what I'm reading with the series.
Yeah, we know what Harrison's reading is this series. But yeah, and we'll see you on the next saga. Bye-bye.
Bye.